We're talking Grails today. What are they? And is the term a little bit outdated? This time on Fire Footwear. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Fire Footwear. I want to welcome everybody that is new to this channel, and I want to say thank you if you have been watching from the beginning. You are why this podcast exists in the first place. Sneaker Grails. It's a term that you hear a lot in the sneaker community, and I got to thinking about it a little bit. And the impetus for thinking about it, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, is watching sneaker shopping on Complex. I know that I have a lot of things to say about Complex. No hate, guys. It's just I'm not particularly fond of how they represent sneaker culture, but it doesn't mean that every single thing that they do is bad or that every single piece of content that they do is oversaturated or whatever. Like I said, Joe LaPuma, I think, has a good personality, and I happen to like sneaker shopping, even if the people that they have on there I'm not as familiar with, and I don't think that they have necessarily the knowledge or the history in sneakers as a lot of other people do. You don't have to be somebody who's an OG in the game in order to be on that show. It's all about popularity, and if you are somebody who traffics in sneakers and are popular, Complex is going to want to have you on there because, of course, you're going to get them clicks and notoriety and all that good stuff.
You got a gift, my friend.
The idea of a grail is about something that is almost unattainable. It's really about a difficult quest or an extended quest in order to get there if you go look it up in the dictionary. And in sneakers, I think that we hear the word grail a little bit too often if you think about what it's intended to mean. If you go back in sneaker history, and let's take a look at the last 40 years or so, a grail was something that didn't develop until really, if you think about it, at least a decade had established itself in the sneaker game. And if you think about the first Air Jordan all the way until the end of Michael Jordan's career, the advent of collaborations through rappers and other types of folks. And at this point, the sneaker industry has just boomed to the point that there are so many shoes, so much availability, so many collaborations, so many silhouettes, so many colorways, that I wonder to myself if the idea of a grail is maybe an outdated concept. So hear me out on this. For many people who've been in the game long enough, and let's say that you've been in the game 20 years, I think when you think of a grail, it's a shoe that you remember releasing, you remember not getting, or you maybe have sold it since then, and now you've come to realize that it's something that you actually want. It's something that you wish that you had in your collection all along. And for you, a grail is something that you have tried to get. It's almost unattainable at this point. It's not impossible, but so much time has gone by that it's almost unrealistic to think that you can actually get this shoe. There's a lot of shoes that probably fall under this category, but if you're someone who's been in the game at least that long, let's say that you've been in it since day one, perhaps the first ever shoe that you bought or that your mom bought for you or your parents bought for you, maybe that's a grail because you can't go back and get that exact pair, but you want to try and get the oldest model possible. And the search for that is really where I believe a lot of people get a lot of enjoyment. And I think today it's a little bit different. So if you've been in the game for less than 5 years or 5 years or less, what is a grail to you? And I started thinking about that a little bit. What is a grail to people who've been in the game such little time? And I think that Resale has changed the idea of a grail in many ways. A grail used to be something that was unattainable. So let's go even further back before StockX, before GOAT, before all that stuff. If you wanted something, you had to trade for it. You had to find somebody who actually had it. And that was already a difficult proposition. It was never a guarantee that you were going to get something that's authentic. And in order to be able to get this, you either had to pay a lot of money or most likely had to have a pair that that person also wanted. And that's where I think the transaction has changed a little bit because I believe that many people back then were all trying for the same thing. They all wanted to get that unattainable pair. And so fast forward to today, what do we have? We have GOAT, we have StockX, we have eBay, and we have a lot of other avenues in which people can get shoes after they release. So maybe for people today, a grail is something that is way out of their price range. But hear me out on this. It is still attainable. My stepmother will tell me all the time, if there is something that can be solved with money, it's not necessarily a problem. And so if you're calling a shoe a grail, but it's just a matter of you saving up enough money to buy it on the resale market, which is the choice that you are making, then is it a grail? So where does the rep market fall into this? Well, a lot of people, when they weren't able to get the shoes that they wanted on the regular market, were going to the rep market to get these shoes. That's where that attainability came into play. That's where the accessibility became the highest that it's ever been. But if you think about it, if you get a shoe on the rep market, is it a grail? A grail should be something that when you look at it and you finally attain it, it feels as if a journey has been completed. And if you're able to go to the rep market to buy just about anything, then is it really a grail? I would actually argue that it is not. And I think all of this has been convoluted in this way because I think now, if you know how to get the shoes, whether it's by saving up money or whether it's by going to the rep market, you can get just about any shoe that you want. When it becomes difficult are shoes that are of a certain age, usually about 10 years or a little bit older. But I think the idea of a grail is somewhat outdated now, and I think it just becomes sort of something that we want but maybe don't have the means right now to get. Sneaker grails. What are yours? And what do you think about the term today? Is it outdated? And should we maybe change it to something else? Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and all that stuff. And of course, if you'd like to support the Matty Ice Media Network, mattyicemedia.com for the other podcasts that we have, including Iceman and Coach. Hope this finds everybody well, fam. I hope this finds you safe. And I will talk to you next time. This is Fire Footwear.